drought. He knows all about weather. He has to be monitoring it himself. He's the Agricultural Commissioner for the state of West Virginia, Kent Leonhardt, U.S. Marine. Good morning, Kent. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, gentlemen. How's everybody today?
Marvelous. Appreciate you joining us this morning. Last year,
pleasure.
Pretty tough year for agriculture because of the drought. It looks like you're going to have a little less drought this time around here, Kent, what with all the snow and rain we've had.
Well, that's helping, certainly. We certainly welcome all the moisture we can get right now. We still, it's these type of things happen sort of regionally a lot of times. Some areas get more than others, and it just never seems to be statewide. And with the shape of West Virginia, it creates a challenge, with the two panhandles and our mountains that shadow some of the rainfall and the moisture and precipitation. So it changes a little bit around the state, but overall, the states, we're starting to recover from the water. There's still some people that need their wells recharged, and there's still some work to do.
How devastating was that drought last year for West Virginia's farmers?
Well, it was pretty devastating. The federal government, to my knowledge, and forage reimbursement payments somewhere in the neighborhood around $25 million. And we just finished allocating $10 million to the farmers for pasture renovation. Because when it got dry, weeds seem to thrive, as every lawn owner knows, and the grass doesn't grow, the things that the livestock really want to eat and grow on. So the state legislature gave me funding to help with pasture renovation. That is the time of year is coming up in March. We just finished the program, and we're releasing the funds now for that as well. So it was pretty devastating. I'd like to tell folks and remind folks that we were on a great path. Nationally, livestock numbers, cattle in particular, in the last census were down 4%, but West Virginia was up 5,000 head. So that was great news. So I'd like to think that the programs and policies that we've put in place prior to the drought, they're still there. The farmers are going to come back. They've gotten a little bit of assistance, and we'll continue on that upward path in agriculture. So that's all great news. Of course, in the last 8 years, we've had to go through as a department, and, this severe drought, one of the worst in history. We've gone through COVID, and we also went, my mind just went blank. We went through COVID, we went through the drought, and we went through the COVID, the drought. It'll come back to me.
There's something else in there we went through, but we'll come back to it. That's fine.
It'll come back to it. I mean, we've had three major crises in agriculture that affected agriculture in the last 8 years. So I'm really proud of my team.
Yeah, well, we've had a lot of
for what they've done.
There's been a lot of species who have invaded the country as well. Well, you had stink bugs, you got the spotted lanternfly, and none of those have been good for farmers.
No, none of them have. And then the department did the what's now called the spongy moth, those type of programs as well. So it's just been one thing after another. And now we're dealing with too much flooding sometime, and that's going to impact agriculture as well. So, the farmers, they do this out of love. They don't do it necessarily for all the money they make. They do it out of love. Avian influenza is the third one. Came to me.
Yep.
I mean, that is devastating. The poultry industry, people are seeing their egg prices go through the roof. Fortunately, in West Virginia, we've only had it in 2 backyard flocks that our team was able to contain and sanitize. We haven't had it in any of our commercial flocks, and poultry is our number one agricultural industry in the state. So, and very prevalent out in the Eastern Panhandle there. So, like I said, again, very proud of our team, what they've had to put through and go through. And they've done it on a very tight budget. They've done it right. I mean, if you take off the new programs and stuff from our current budget, we're back to the 2008 level.
The CDC released a report, I heard this morning, Kent, that this avian influenza, they're now finding it in veterinarians who are caring for the animals. And that was not thought to be that easily transmissible before. Are you hearing any reports of this yet from the farmers?
Not from the farmers here in the state. We are seeing it. Of course, you know, I'm connected nationally at the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture, and we have regular hearings and meetings. And then our state veterinarian and we constantly get on calls nationally with what's going on with avian influenza. And to date, I'll just give folks an example. There's been 148 through the beginning of February. 148 million birds have been had to be put down because of the flu. They were going to die, so more humane this way. But 24 million in the month of January, basically, through like February 3rd. So that's pretty significant, and it's been popping up more and more. It's been around this in our surrounding states, which is why I put a ban on the shows of poultry right now until we get through and we'll reevaluate in April, because the waterfowl is what's spreading this wild waterfowl, and the migration's coming through West Virginia in March. I want to get us through that.
We've seen a big uptick in egg prices. Has there been the same sort of uptick in chicken prices in the groceries and stuff?
No. See, the thing is, broilers, their average life in a broiler house is like 6 weeks. So there's less chance of an infection, and if a broiler house does get it, they can repopulate that rather rapidly. Whereas chicken, for egg-laying chicken, it takes about 4 months to get them up to egg-laying production, and then they'll last over a year. So with one of those houses go out, it doesn't get to be repopulated as rapidly as broilers. So that's why the poultry, they're more likely to get it than a broiler house, just because of the nature of the business, and B, because of the repopulation time.
Let me ask a question about the lantern flies. I mean, I know they're really annoying to us. How do they affect farming?
They are they're a nuisance at number one, and every farmer will tell you, they don't need another nuisance, but they're more affecting the grapes, and they're the farmers that have grape vineyards, they're having to do a lot more, either hand removal of the bugs or spraying, and hopefully they don't have to spray too much, and they spray at the right time that doesn't get into the grapes.
Kent, when you look at all of these issues that we've talked about already, the challenges that farmers have faced, and then coming out of the drought of last year, are you seeing more folks kind of saying, maybe I've had enough and it's time to move on? Are we losing farms and farmers, or are we finding a way to gain them here in West Virginia?
Well, until all this, the recent drought, like I said, we were gaining. We had more farmers under age 30. We had more farmers with less than 5 years experience. We were doing extremely well. I don't have statistics for this just from the drought, but I have not heard of any farmers going out. None have said to me, that's it, I've had a commissioner, I'm done. I have not heard that from anybody.
What qualifies
the department has been, go ahead.
Who counts as a farmer? What qualifies a person to be considered a farmer?
Well, if depending upon their acreage, and the assessment through the taxes, but $500 for under 10 acres of annual income, and $1,000 of revenue, not income, I should say, revenue, qualifies as a farm. So I think our numbers are going to stay pretty steady. We've got, and then we also have increased production on individual farms. I mean, there's been a lot of new technology, a lot of work that we've done with pastures in the past. Water conservation and soil conservation has improved the productivity of the farms we have. There's no doubt over the centuries we've lost farms. I mean, we were 95% farmers back in 1863. And now we're only about 4% farmers. So, that's been a national trend But the fact that we've been able to turn the corner on production in the state has been just, like I said, very proud of the agricultural community. Our partners, I can't forget them. USDA has been great through all this. WVU Extension has been great through all this. When we send out the payments to the Farmers for Pasture Renovation, they're going to have access to a whole big database on what are the best practices for their property. And then the extension agents are always willing to have the farmers contact them for, hands-on advice, as is U.S. Department of Agriculture and Natural Resource Conservation Service. And I got to say, Farm Service Agency that did the initial funding that we worked our funding off of has been absolutely tremendous as well. So it's been a great display of partnership in the agricultural community throughout the state.
How diverse are we as a state when it comes to farming? I know here in the Eastern Panhandle, at least in my mind, it tends to go more towards orchards, even though I know we have cattle farms and other type of farming here. But across the state, how diverse are we in the different forms of farming?
We're pretty diverse. I mean, there's some crops that we don't grow, such as, like cotton and peanuts that other states do well. But if you look at the standard commodity crops, we've got a little bit of all of it. We've got the fruit orchards, as you mentioned. We've got cattle. Like I said, our livestock numbers were going up. We're getting more and more vegetable farmers, particularly with the technologies and the high tunnels that people are seeing spring up that extends the growing season. We've tripled farmers markets in the last 8 years in the state. So we're gaining an awareness, and that's one of my legislative priorities, is to get some additional funding so we can advertise West Virginia Grown, which is a program that was in place before I took office but was sitting dormant, and we reinvigorated it, and we're getting some enthusiasm. If anybody's going to be down in Charleston on the 1st of March, they can go to the Winter Blues Market. A lot of our West Virginia Grown vendors will be selling for 4 hours at the convention center. It's a great event every year, and it highlights what we do. And we do that in partnership with WVU Small Farm Center.
Kent, you did an op-ed in regards to West Virginia Grown and trying to correlate that into a healthier state. West Virginia, overall as a state health-wise, ranks near the bottom. And a lot of that has to do with eating processed foods, not eating fruits and vegetables, that sort of thing. How can you, as the agricultural commissioner, be part of that solution?
Well, that's part of what we have to do. That's why I want that funding for the West Virginia Grown. What we've done over the last 8 years with that program, we've done it with savings we found within the department. Like I said, we've been operating on a very efficient budget. A little bit of extra funding where I can get a little bit more boots on the ground and connect growers to markets. See, farmers will grow it if they have a market, but they've got to know where the market is first. So we have to develop that market, and that's what we're trying to do. And the promotion, and I'm hoping that we see some benefits coming out of Washington now with RFK Jr.'s confirmation. I certainly agree with his healthier food stance. I hope they'll do some things that help us here in West Virginia, just by regulations and all. So, but we have to make sure that there's access to the food. And that's the other problem. We have a lot of food deserts in the state where our citizens are going to the dollar store, and that's where they're getting their food. And dollar stores don't have fresh fruits and vegetables. So we've got to develop those markets. And we've been doing that, but certainly with a little bit of assistance from the legislature, we can do more.
How much of West Virginia's farmers' foods that are grown wind up in the schools for lunch and breakfast, Kent?
I couldn't give you a good percentage. That's a program, that farm to school program is actually under the Department of Education for the schools. Now, the Department of Agriculture, my office, does deliver USDA commodity foods through our warehouse and trucking system out of Ripley, West Virginia. And we provide about 15% of the food to the state schools. But the actual percentage, now there's a Fresh Food Act law that has not been enforced. It was passed. It's a great idea. Every state institutions, school, university, prison, any place that we're feeding citizens, they're supposed to use at least 5% of West Virginia grown product. I know at Cedar Lakes, we're meeting that goal, with the Department of Agriculture, what we can control. But it's going to take the governor saying to us, you follow the law and you do it. I've also asked for funding for an increase for personnel so I can track it. The reporting rate on the Fresh Food Act's only been around 14% over the last couple of years. So we're not meeting the goals. It's a well-intended act. It was an unfunded mandate on the department, and it was never forced into compliance. So I'm hoping we get a forced into compliance. When I say forced into compliance, I'm just saying the governor goes out and says to the prisons, you will do this. You will follow this Fresh Food Act.
Kent, let's talk about wine. Right over the border from us in Virginia, there are so many wineries. I mean, you can't spin a dead cat without hitting a winery. Are we allowed to say that anymore? Who knows?
I don't know.
But I mean, you were talking about how the lantern flies affect, fruits and stuff, grapes. Is there a lot of growth in West Virginia as far as wineries and as far as keeping people here? Because there's a lot of, you can call it tourism. A lot of people from the Eastern Panhandle in this region, they go over, they go to the wineries, they listen to the music, they drink the wine, of course. Is there, how's our industry of that growing and trying to keep more of the money in the state and to get people to come into West Virginia for that?
Well, that's definitely been a challenge, and we've been working on that. A lot of our laws have kind of hindered the way that would work. They weren't allowed to sample on Sundays at fairs and festivals until afternoon. And we've changed a lot of those rules. And we're working right now with some delegates, your delegates, particularly Delegate Clark out of the Eastern Panhandle. And we're going to try to make some changes in the laws. And that affects the alcohol and beverage control folks as well. So we're working on that. I think you're going to see some legislation that'll help. But all these things take time. And again, you have to develop the market at the same time that you're developing the product.
During the time that you have been the agriculture commissioner, have you seen a lot of growth in that segment? I mean, I just see all this money. I drive, down Route 9 and you see, these places are packed and then you see a lot of West Virginia cars. Have we had a lot of growth in our wine industry?
No, we haven't had a lot of growth in it yet. It's holding its own. I don't know, haven't seen the recent national statistics on that. But I know we're at least holding our own, and we know there's room for improvement. Overall, from 2017 to the 2022 census, in the 5-year gap from when I took office, we were at 753 million agricultural production, and we're over 950 million. I hope in the next 4 years we can break that $1 billion mark for the first time. So we're seeing growth overall in agriculture. And when you have a growth in agriculture as a whole, I think that'll help pull the vineyards as well.
Do we have a lot of our agricultural products being shipped to other states?
Or countries?
Or countries, yes.
Well, yes, we do have a lot, particularly in our beef. For years and years, our farmers sent calves to the Midwest, to the feedlots for fattening up, and we're seeing more of them stay here in West Virginia. So we have quite a bit of that. Commodity crops, apples, obviously, most of our apple crop, and a lot of that was processing, was going out of state to processors. So, and then where it goes from there, who knows? It could be exported. We've actually even, a number of years ago, we were selling maple sugar. The maple syrup turned into a sugar, powdered sugar. That was actually going to China from one of our producers. So we've actually had some success in the export. I'm looking to try to do more, and I'm getting West Virginia set up to be able to help a food processor come in and do something here. I'm currently the vice president of the Southern U.S. Trade Association, and that's a program funded primarily by U.S. Department of Agriculture Ag Marketing Services, and we promote the export of agricultural commodities overseas from the southeast region of the country. And last year I was elected vice president. I'll be president come this fall.
Congratulations. Matt, minute left.
Yeah, I was
Thank
going to
you.
say, I know we have just a short amount of time, but Kent, is there anything right now going on in the legislature that you are paying close attention to, or really that your office is behind trying to get through this year?
Well, number one, we're trying to do that, the West Virginia grown like I talked about. We also want to make sure we get the Vet Star program. Everybody knows that we have a veterinarian shortage, and we're not going to build a vet school, particularly with the budget the way it is. And we don't necessarily need to do so. We can get more of our students to other vet schools, but we have to set it up so that they can come back to West Virginia. And Vet Start is a program where we get vet techs that are more highly skilled and trained, and they can go out and do telemarketing, hopefully, with the veterinarians. Veterinarian doesn't have to travel all that way to go see some of our large animals. So that would be a great benefit for agriculture in the state of West Virginia. And then, obviously, I always want my laboratories upgraded. That's a very important piece in our thing. And the one thing that I'm also hoping, and we talked about the nutrition earlier in the farmers market, is I hope the governor puts in the SNAP stretch. That is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, but it's stretch, where those dollars actually go to the farmers markets and the West Virginia farmer. And that's not a dollar that it passes through the Department of Agriculture, but it's a partnership with the Food and Farm Coalition, and it's worked out into our farmers markets. So none of those dollars stay at the department, but they all go out to help our farmers.
Thank you for your time, sir. Have a great day.
Great. Thanks so much.